What you are looking at is a clone of the Great Canterbury Psalter, which contains the best miniatures made in Catalonia. It is an example of a quasi-original codex, which is how its publisher Manuel Moleiro calls them. We will show them to you shortly, as always, in situ. Marta Ballester will introduce us to the universe of manuscripts, books written by hand which contain the most valuable works of our past. We will discover how these books are nowadays reproduced, and thus allow readers to enjoy their history. And we will do this at Moleiro, a reference in the publishing world of these works of art. Manuscripts from classical times and the Middle Ages in just a few minutes here on Conexio Barcelona. Now we will introduce you to a very particular publishing company, since it makes top-quality copies of medieval manuscripts. They are produced using completely traditional methods and have enabled access to works which were not available to the public. Today, Marta Ballester shows you some of these literary treasures in situ. The Great Canterbury Psalter, acquired by Peter IV of Aragon in 1320, contains the best miniatures ever painted in Catalonia. This clone allows us to enjoy a work which, like the other codices, are the most valuable works of the main libraries throughout the world. Very few people have the privilege to see them at first hand. The Moleiro publishing house is the most important worldwide in the publishing of clones, exact replicas of these literary jewels, works that are safely kept in libraries all over the world. Mr. Moleiro, what is the process of creating these works, such as, for example, this one, The Great Hours of Anne of Brittany? I understand that the first step is to photograph the pages. Yes, of course, we photograph all of it, including all the details, no matter how minute they are. With these photographs, proofs are made on normal paper. There is a huge difference between what the human eye can see and what can be achieved by using a machine. We make notes on these proofs. For example, on the cheek we have written that it will have a variation of color here, or in any other place. Once these notes have been made, a second print is made, now on parchment-like paper with a treatment, so that rather than printed, it appears to be painted. Here, for example, you can see there are golden threads. This is stamped at the end. Engravings are made and pressed against the gold leaf so that it stays fixed. All the quires are prepared and then placed in order. These sheets are also trimmed to the exact size of the original. They are cut with a laser, since each sheet is cut separately. After this, the book is sewn. The spine is specially prepared for the binding. The covers are then made with naturally tanned leather. And finally, we get the end product, which will be a clone of the manuscript which is kept as a treasure in the library. Several Beatus stand out among these books published by the firm, such as the Girona Beatus. Mr. Moleiro, what is the characteristic of these works? There are specialists who say that the Beatus are as important or even more than cathedrals. The Girona Beatus is a tremendously important Beatus for two reasons. I think it is the only manuscript, and of course the only Beatus kept nowadays, that is signed by a woman in the year 970. It is also the Beatus containing most illuminations. And another of its advantages is that it is kept in Girona. You also have another book of great historic value to show us, the Isabella Breviary. Were these manuscripts always made for the monarchy? They were the only ones who could afford them. In the case of the breviary, it is also so luxurious and so full of detail because it was made to commemorate the three most important events in Isabel's government: the marriage contracts of her children, which gave rise to the first global empire, which was the kingdom of Charles V. It commemorated the conquest of Granada, which modified the world. And it also commemorated the arrival in America. It is so important that Isabel is addressed in a dedication which states, "To the divine Isabel, Queen of Spain and Sicily." This form of address is more typically used for Roman emperors, for Augustus, than for a queen. If she allowed this kind of address, it was because of the importance this work had for her. Breviaries, Bibles, Beatus. The large majority of these works are religious, but we also find other kinds, such as, for example, the Book of Felicity. Mr. Moleiro, might it contain the secret for achieving happiness? Absolutely, it should be in every school in Europe. Of course. The Sultan Murad III was the most important sultan in the entire Ottoman Empire, and he made it for his second daughter. It appears that she was his favorite child of the 110 children he had, so it was not an easy choice. He gathered together scientists, doctors, astronomers, astrologers. It states many important claims, especially for a journalist, such as that words belong to the person who pronounces them. It gives many examples in respect to business endeavors, marrying the right person, etc. It even gives some basic medical advice. For example, judging by the thickness of the ankle or the hands, you can know what the person before us is like. It deals with many private matters we are not going to reveal here. I think that if we paid attention to what is told in the Book of Felicity, we would definitely be happier, have fewer arguments, and the world would be different. We will bear it in mind. I think it's a good decision. These codices even have the capacity to change history. For example, this atlas, the oldest one depicting Australia. It shows that the Portuguese arrived there 250 years before the English. You just have to take good notice of the language its toponymy is written in.